So here's one thing. This is from Forbes. They did an article on the quote-unquote niche sex toy market. So they put niche in quotes because it's a $15 billion a year industry, and they call it unstoppable. So here's really who their main customers are. And one thing I just wanted to look at here is, this pretty much tells it all. So we'll see that the online porn industry is about $14-15 billion. And to put that in perspective, say the National Football League in America, pretty big sport, a lot of stadiums, a lot of TV shows and advertising. Probably without the advertising, I think it's like a $14 billion industry. And also by comparison, cosmetics, makeup and everything like that, nail polish, hair care products, about a $60 billion a year industry in the U.S. in the U.S. alone. So here we see that sex toys are doing $15 billion. So this is a lot of consumers, a lot of products, a lot of money, a lot of employees, and this probably we'll see that more of the statistics for online pornography viewing is driven by men, where the sex toys purchases and that industry is more dominated by women. So this is a great article, and I'm just going to hit the highlights. It's very long, but it's called roadtograce.net/current-porn-statistics, and they have all kinds of stats. I'm not going to be able to hit them all, but one I will do that I'll probably do in the future, if you're interested in research, Till Porn Do Us Part, a longitudinal examination of pornography use and divorce. From the 2018 porn statistics, that there was about 5 million videos uploaded to Pornhub in that year. It's about 962 videos a minute, so that's a lot. Okay, another statistic on money. Porn as a global industry is about $97 billion, and in the U.S. it's about $12 billion industry. So like we said, the sex toy industry about 15. That data is 2 years old, so maybe a little bit bigger than that. And the online porn industry about 12 billion in the U.S. So according to the study that they don't post a link to, and they don't give specifics on, apparently there's some study done by the American Sociological Association that found that married men who began viewing porn were twice as likely to get divorced. So 94% of children will see porn by age 14, and that 11 is the normal or the average exposure to pornography. So, it doesn't seem helpful, it doesn't seem natural, it's not nearly anywhere close to being on par as, normal relationships, the way that God created it. Maybe it's better than some of the other, options that people are talking about, prostitution or, cheating or whatever, but certainly no way is it going to be considered, in my opinion, a good option. I think God has better plans for us. That's why I push so much for marriage, because I think that's the go-to plan. That's God's desire for people to have sex drives. It's very clear. It's get married and stay married and learn and grow in God and figure out how to love your spouse and be forgiving and work through your issues and develop in maturity. I think that's an awesome, and that's by far for me the top option, and that's what I think we should be going for. So, but this is obviously a growing industry. A lot of people are using it. We'll keep going. I think one interesting thing was that you think that it wouldn't be surprising if you see that college students, male and female, make up the second largest demographic of porn viewers. Okay, that's not that surprising. Number one, number two, okay, but what is interesting or surprising is that the number one contingent is 12 to 17-year-olds. So it's children who are mostly using pornography. And that's really, really weird. I would not have guessed that. So for example, another issue floating around the world of porn lies within the ethics of the trade, with a large portion of its viewers being under the age of 18. It raises the question, is this a legitimate industry? A third of firms catch their staff viewing porn at work, 1/3. All right, so a stat from Pornhub, women watched more porn in 2017. In Pornhub's 2017 report, it noted the number one search or keyword would be porn for women, and that term saw a growth of 359% among female users between 2016 and 2017. So one thing that would be interesting to ask among you statisticians out there is, how often are we going to see anything grow at 359%? How often does that happen in daily life? That's a huge number, to see that kind of dramatic increase over a 12-month period. Women represent 26% of X-Hamster's total users. So porn is the number one consumed item on the internet. Here's the highlights from that study that I talked about, Till Porn Do Us Part. It says there's 3 highlights. Beginning pornography use between survey waves nearly doubled one's likelihood of being divorced by the next survey period. So for men, it jumped from 6% to 11%. So that was nearly a doubling. But for women, it nearly tripled from 6% to 16%. And that study came out of the University of Oklahoma. So there's some data on here about the percentage of teens or young people sexting pornographic images of themselves to friends, and there's some other things about how there's been laws that have passed to protect people from, if there's a breakup, and kind of the revenge porn is what they call it, where I think the real problem is there's no hope and there's no trust in marriage anymore as an institution, in vows and commitments and the longevity of marriage. So I've never met anybody that would prefer porn to, a healthy, loving marriage with someone, a long-term relationship with someone that they can trust. I've never met anybody that would say that there's even a contest when it comes to that. It's just most people, they're seeing that there's been so many divorces among earlier generations that it's like, well, I'm not going to do this, so what are my other options? I think that's really what's going on. And I like, bravo to everyone who's kind of put this thing together in November and had a little pushback and say, no, you know what, we can do better. We don't have to be subjected to this, as well as a lot of work that's been done by E. Michael Jones. He really speaks out as far as why porn is free. A lot more people are checking into like sex therapy in Hong Kong. So a lot of studies in Australia about there being heavy porn use among teens, and that teens start watching really early. Many of those surveyed among the males had watched porn for the first time at age 13 or younger. I don't think that's surprising, man. So many people are getting kids, smartphones at so young, 10. So Newsweek in 2017, it just says porn ruins men's sex lives, but not women's. So they're basically talking about ED, erectile dysfunction, among men, and that women don't face those same problems. One thing that's interesting, I don't know if you knew, but for Catholics, that being impotent is grounds for annulment. So that might scare some people straight. Yeah, you can be sterile, but you can't be impotent. If you're impotent, apparently your marriage has no support from the Catholic Church. Kids as young as 7 are watching porn. So they also talk about the problems that porn teaches to young people. So it's almost, young kids, they're going to think it's normal, these kind of things. So aggression, disrespect, all kinds. Or there's a lot of talk about the large growth in the segment of the porn industry on child porn. And so that's really, I think all it takes is, just knowing one person that has been, molested, or a marriage that is broken up because of, one or both people perhaps were molested as children, and they don't know how to talk about it. They don't know how to deal with the shame and the stigma. Look, there's no doubt that that's the agenda, right? Illegal content would sell for more, or anything that's restricted. That's the design of the industry, to break down all the stigmas around, we'll just call it unbiblical sexual forms, and to normalize everything, and to get more and more, erotic or extreme versions of pornography are the ones that people are going to pay for. So desensitize. It seems very clear what the agenda is. So the Christian Examiner 2015 says, quote, from a survey of 75,000 men, 64% said their taste in porn had become more extreme or deviant with use and created waning interest in their life partner. This is another interesting thing that I think really needs to be part of the conversation. Huffington Post, January 7th, 2015. Essentially the question at hand is viewing porn the same as sleeping with your neighbor, as having an affair? Is it the same thing? And some people, when they want to get out of marriages, they're going to say, yeah, heck yeah, it is. It's the exact same thing. And they're hurt, and the marriage isn't working. And so, my view is very clearly there's no way. Lust after this thing. I envy my friend's new car versus stealing my friend's car. That's totally different. Those are two totally different things. So, but this one says 87% said that the partner's online cheating, in parentheses, by porn or other means on the internet, had a negative effect on their relationship. So it's just the term cheating, right? It's very it's a loaded term there. You know, I think we need to be careful, call a spade, because really, like, if we're going to say as a Christian community, well, ever looking at porn, or if a woman ever notices an attractive male, or, you know, if anyone ever has, say, like an inappropriate thought, well, then divorce is legitimate. If that's the case, I mean, let's not kid ourselves. Never get married. If that's all marriage means, is just like, I'm with you until you have your first inappropriate thought, or you look at your first inappropriate image on TV or in an advertisement, or, you know, cheerleaders at the Super Bowl or whatever. If that's as durable as marriage is, then it's a joke and we should just forget about it altogether. It's really true. We see a lot of women are using porn. We see a lot of men are using porn. We also see the sex toy industry, which I'm going to argue is dominated by women, is just as big in terms of revenue. $15 billion a year is in 2016 versus $15 billion a year for the porn industry. So let's really make no mistakes about it. It's not a gendered issue. You know, we have just deviated from marriage in our own ways. Men going one way, women going the other way. But, you know, I think both genders have kind of found other solutions. And, you know, it's tough to talk about. So this study from the UK says that the average age of first exposure to pornography was age 4. Age 4, what in the heck? So this says that 65% of American men said that porn is morally unacceptable. So there you go. Even if you don't have the brain studies and all that other stuff, it weighs on people's consciences. And it clearly doesn't look like it's beneficial to marriages. Some people may. You know, I've always thought, man, it would be nice just to live in a place where it's like you didn't have to worry about all this crap, right? Where it's like it was banned, and you can say whatever you want about Islam and, you know, the civil rights or the human rights violations that are done in certain countries and highly Islamic countries. But, you know, I think in one sense it's like I like that they block that stuff. And this is interesting. Christian missionary agencies reported as saying that 80% of their applicants admit to struggling with porn. Porn users are 400% more likely to visit a prostitute. And like I said, I think prostitution will be legal in the United States within 10 years. So that'd be... this one's really interesting. An Australian ISP blocked 84,000 requests for child porn in the first 3 months after it initiated a voluntary porn filter. Anyway, thanks everyone for viewing today. We will talk to you next time.
Living there.